Hello, and welcome to Stage, Screen, and In Between with Helen. Thanks for tuning in. Tonight we have a very special guest. His name is Lukas Hassel, and he has a movie in the Long Island International Film Expo called Guest of Honor, and it's making its Long Island premiere, and it is also a nominee for Best Story. Lukas, thanks for coming to the red carpet.
Thank you so much for having me on. I'm excited to be here.
Congratulations on the nomination.
Oh, we're very excited. Yeah, it's fantastic. Long Island Film Expo has a very dear place in my heart, so it's quite the honor.
Yeah, I know. And you have over 47 film and TV credits to your name, including Couple of Guys, The Blacklist, Blue Bloods, Shoot Me Nicely. So you really are established in the industry.
Well, I've been around for a long time, and it's a lot of that is just sticking in the game for long enough and trying to hone your craft and make some great connections and friends in the industry, and so that's where I am now.
Yeah, and you're doing what you love. Now, I'd also like to say that your co-star is Lisa Belcher, and she's also the co-writer with you, right?
That's correct. Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, so I want to tell everybody the synopsis of what your movie's about. Struck by tragedy, a married couple goes ahead with their anniversary party when an unusual guest arrives.
That's right.
I have to say, I saw the movie. I think it's really terrific on so many levels. And you had me guessing from the onset, what is it? What is it?
Good. Well, good. Well, then task accomplished.
Yes. Yeah. Now, have you worked before with Lisa?
I have not. Lisa and myself had, I'm also a writer and a filmmaker, and I had a short film during the festival circuit for a long time, and I kept bumping into Lisa at various festivals all over the country. And we sort of really clicked and hit it off. And then after one particular, I think it was Austin Revolution Film Festival, Lisa reached out to me and said, listen, I have this script that I think you would be great for. Would you mind taking a look at it? And so I said, sure. And I read it, and there was so many lovely things. Lisa basically wrote that script, and there are so many lovely things about it. Most of the stuff is in the film as it is, but it was missing for me that element of leaning forward in your seat. It was, when I received the script, you were sort of leaning back, and you're like, okay, I see where this is going, and it's very sweet and very lovely, but I wanted to put something in there that kept the audience guessing a little bit. So I said to Lisa, listen, if you don't mind, I have some suggestions, and I'm going to rewrite bits and pieces, and then you can see what you think. And she said, sure. And I basically came up with
what you came up with
the sort of the twist of the story, so to speak, and sort of misleading the audience to a certain extent. And she loved it. And then she said, listen, you should get a writer credit because it really turned the piece around. And so, for full disclosure, I really feel like it is Lisa's script, and I just added my sort of Lukas touch to it. But and then we shot down in Texas, and we had a great time.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. Now, is Lisa from Texas?
Yeah, she lives in Austin, Texas, and she's a local actress and now much more writer and getting into filmmaking as well. And this was really, I think it was her second real director credit, and she was just such a pro on set. I mean, that production that she came up with was fantastic, and she's going to go on to bigger and much greater things, I'm sure.
Yeah, she's also the director on that, and it's nice to see a female director.
Absolutely, and it's she at the early stages of it, she didn't want to play the lead herself, the female lead herself, and I totally saw her in that role. So I was very encouraging in saying, listen, I think you can do both. I think you can act and direct. And that was what she was worried about. And
well, she definitely pulled it off. Now, how long did it take you to film that?
We shot for 3 very full days. I flew down a few days early for some rehearsal and some last minute checks on the script and stuff. And then we shot for 3 full days.
Yeah. Okay. Now, is there a different feeling for you in making a film that brings the audience on an experience that may change their perspective or even their actions?
No, for sure. I mean, I'm pulled into films where I have to sort of connect the dots myself as I go along. I'm not a big fan of being spoon-fed any kind of film. I like to connect the dots. I like to search for the subtext. And so that's just how I write, and that's how I operate. And almost no matter who I work with as a director, I look at these projects as collaborations. I'm very excited to be a part of the discussion with the scripts before filming, because of course that's the benefit of indie filmmaking, is that it is a collaborative effort. You know, TV, you mentioned, you know, Blue Bloods and Blacklist and all the shows I've done, there's no collaboration. You basically do what you did at the casting, and you hit your mark, and you don't
do
delay
what you're
production.
told.
Do what you're told. Don't delay the production. Make sure the stars are not annoyed with the guest star coming on, whatever, and you just do your piece and get out. It's not the most, as I said, a collaborative or exciting process for me. I really like to be involved from the beginning.
Yeah, well, this movie is really what independent filmmaking is about, because it had like mystery at the beginning. It had wonderful acting. It had a surprise. It had mystery. It had almost like a call to action, you know?
Yeah, exactly, absolutely. And that's all Lisa's credit as well. I don't want to give anything away. People will find out in the film, but that film has actually been used for very helpful purposes with various foundations around the country.
I understand that it is or will be on PBS.
Correct.
Right? And it is going to be used for that purpose, to make people think.
Yes, correct.
Right?
Exactly.
I want to mention that your movie, because we're going virtual and to the drive-in this year at the Long Island International Film Expo 2020, it will screen on Friday, October 2nd at 7 p.m. in that time block at the I can never pronounce this, Semania Mall, which was formerly the Source Mall. I know it is behind the old Fortune off in Westbury, 1504 Old Country Road, Westbury. And you can find out more at longislandfilm.com. So, you know, I want to tell you about how I felt when I watched the movie, because thank you so much for sending that to me. So I had, you know, I knew what to talk to you about a little bit.
Sure.
And I just want to tell you, you know, what I was thinking when I was watching it. First, I thought it was sad. I could detect sadness. And then I'm guessing, what is it? What's up? What could it be that certain people are sad about, right?
Right.
And then there was the reveal. And then there was like and I really got teary-eyed, teary-eyed. And I had very deep thoughts. And then I thought, how would I feel if that was part of my life?
Sure.
How would I feel? How would I deal with that?
Right.
And, you know, there's an importance to this film. Now, not every film has to have importance. Well, they all do, because they either make you laugh, they make you cry, they make you say, the heck with things.
Right.
And this had a lot going on. So I just wanted to let you know about that. It hit a lot of nerves.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. I think, you know, for myself as a filmmaker, the films that work for me the best when I'm out at the festival circuit watching sort of low budget films that people have made all over the country are the ones where there is a strong point of view, where it's very clear that the writer or the director had something very specific in mind. It doesn't have to be full of messages and sort of morals necessarily, but I think it's important that you know as a filmmaker why you're making this particular story. You know, it's easy when you write a funny scene after a funny scene after a funny scene. The hard work becomes in how can I make those funny scenes actually represent something about me, something that I believe in, or something that I feel should be highlighted. And I think that's where the art form of independent cinema comes in.
Now, I'm just wondering, because you said that Lisa originally had the script. Was she affected in her life by this experience, or someone that she knew that she, you know, decided to write this?
No, she did not. I think I believe it was either a song or a snippet she watched on TV that inspired her to write this particular story. But Lisa is someone who's very interested, invested in other people's lives in terms of less fortunate than yourself. She's a very giving kind of soul. If and when hopefully you'll meet her at some point, she's just a sort of bright, ray of sunshine. She really is, and everyone around her gets sort of pulled up by her positive energy. She's also very serious and a hard worker, but she's just a joy to be around. And so the vibe that she created on set was just one of trust and one of focus and one of having fun as well. Because after all, that's a big part of the reason why we're in this industry.
That's so nice to hear.
Yeah.
And now you had another producer on this. Do you?
So there's a gentleman by the name of Christian Olhanu, I believe his last name is. I think his background is Middle Eastern at some point, but he has worked with Lisa many times before, and so they're sort of partners in crime. I know they've been working on a TV pilot as well called Javelina Run, which was just completed. That's going to get out there as well. And Lisa and myself are talking about collaborating on something again for sure, maybe a feature. Both of us are sort of happy having done shorts, but the real proof is in the pudding, and that has to do with features. You really got to at one point up the game and go into sort of feature-length films, but that's a whole different set of pressure getting into that, because of course, if you're going to do a feature, there has to be compromises involved, because you have to make some of that money back that you're going to spend on a short is money out the window. You're not necessarily going to see much of that again.
Well, it's kind of like a calling card for a feature sometimes, right?
That's absolutely right. And it really is, it's your one chance as a filmmaker to make something without compromise, because once you get greenlit to do a feature, you have producers or studios that you're beholden to, and they're going to have their input. And so your final product may not be your, ideal vision of what that film was. But in short, there are no excuses. This is your project. You may as well go for it. So that's the beauty of short filmmaking.
So how do you feel about the Long Island International Film Expo going ahead and having the festival virtually and at the drive-in?
Listen, Deborah Markovich is she's a rock star in my eyes, right? She works nonstop. She works harder than almost anyone I know. And she, of all people, would make sure that it's a fun and a safe festival to take place. I mean, I've been out to Merrick many times before at the various festivals throughout the years, and it's always a blast, and it's so fun to network with people. So I was sad to, contemplate that maybe it wasn't going to happen at all. And so Deborah managed to put this thing together as mainly a virtual event, but then lo and behold, she figured out a way of making it happen outside with some kind of connectivity, albeit in cars next to each other at the drive-in. So that is an incredible feat to organize that. I'm very excited to have guest of honor screen on an outdoor screen. It'll be a ton of fun to see it that way. I've only been to a drive-through once or twice before in my life. Coming from Europe is not part of our heritage or tradition over there. So this whole notion of having little speakers in your car and popcorn and
I think they're going to do it Bluetooth on your car radio. I don't think you're getting the speakers.
Right, exactly. One or the other. I'm sure that's the modern version of doing it.
Yeah.
So that'll be great.
So, Anne and Henry, we're going to miss not seeing them at the Belmore movies, but I think that they'll be, because usually this is held in July in the Belmore movies, and, we could see everybody. But I think some people will get out of their cars at the drive-ins and, give an elbow. Hi, how you doing?
I certainly hope so. I'm sure you can get out of your car with your mask on and keep your social distance, and at least just, elbow each other, exactly, I should say, or raise your wine glass that you've hidden in your car. That'll be perfect.
Well, I want to thank Deborah for hooking us up, because she is the one that made the connection with us, and I just love that you came here and how handsome you do look.
Oh, thank you.
Now you're Scandinavian, aren't you? Aren't you from Scandinavia?
I am born and raised in Denmark. Yes, born and raised in Denmark. I went to Trinity College in Dublin, Ireland, so I lived in Dublin for a long time, and then I moved to the U.S. in '96, and now I'm a proud voting American. So yeah.
Oh, good for you. Now, is there a difference between filmmaking, in Denmark and Sweden and here? Is there much of it going on?
There's a lot going on over there. There's a lot of TV shows coming out of Denmark in particular that has become very popular around the world. Borgen was a big success. There's a whole bunch of them that subsequently gets made into sort of American shows. And then you have Lars von Trier, who's a real art house film director. He wins at Cannes every second or third year when he creates a film. And it's sort of very avant-garde filmmaking, I would say. It's very much like the Danish culture. It's pragmatic, it's in your face, it's very direct. So it's a different type of filmmaking for sure, but it's one that the difference, and the big difference in terms of finance is, of course, that in Scandinavia, a lot of the productions are financed by government grants. Here in the US, you know, it's really up to you and your production companies and to find private financing. So there is a slight difference. I mean, the Scandinavian movie making can take more risks because they're not beholden to a production company waiting to make their money back. They're basically given, you know, support after, you know, applying, of course, and that's a lot of work to apply for these grants. But if you get the grant, go ahead and make your crazy out there film. And that's why these films sometimes from there are very, very different. Here, you have to stay within certain frameworks in order to get a release.
So during the pandemic, you were doing a very, very cute and informative bit that lasted 5 minutes. What was that called?
Well, A Couple of Guys is a wonderful sort of web series, I would call it, that Deborah Markovich created and wrote, which has a gay couple at the center of its story. I play one of the characters opposite Sal Rendino, a wonderful actor.
He's great too, Sal.
Great. And you have, you know, Abby Hawke is in there as well. You have amazing Mark O'Halloran. You have an amazing group of actors in this particular production. And so I was just honored to be part of it. And we've created a good few episodes by now. We're shooting some more this fall. And then eventually we hope to sort of release this either as a proof of concept for a potential feature, or create more episodes for the web series, or figure out exactly what to do with it. But we've just had a really good time creating this piece about love, second chances of love. You know, you can fall in love later in life. It doesn't have to be when you're 17 and 18. Sometimes love shows itself when you least expect it in your later years, and that's the beauty of life.
Well, I have a couple of questions for you.
Sure.
Okay. If you were an appliance, would you best be associated with a stove, a refrigerator, a dishwasher, or the sink?
That's a really good question. Let me say a stove, because I like to heat things up.
I had a feeling you'd be a stove. You don't look like a refrigerator type.
And I like to cook, so.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Your happy day is staying in PJs, outdoors walking, running, hiking, or preparing for an evening event?
Wow. So I would say that the easy answer to that is to sort of go backwards, which preparing for an evening event would be my least favorite part of that, what you just said. I think walking outside, running and hiking, if I can put those two together, and even better in my pajamas, then we're talking. So.
Right. That's a good answer. Good answer. Okay. Your favorite pet, would it be a dog, cat, horse, or fish?
I'm definitely a dog person. We've talked for a long time about getting a dog or not, and it's just, I like my life the way it is, and I'm just afraid of upsetting a life that I'm very happy with by introducing a pet. So that's the only reason why I haven't gotten a dog yet. But if I were to get one, it would be a dog for sure. I would go to a shelter and find a rescue dog.
That's the way to do it, at a shelter.
I agree, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I have a cat, and a cat is, you know, a little less dependent. And depending on your cat, you know, my cat is pretty good company. Pretty demanding, though, I have to say.
Right. No, listen, no, I'm not knocking fish. I'm not knocking horses. I'm not knocking cats. It's all up to each desire. I know many lovely cats. I think for me, with cats, it's just a little more of a risk. You can find a cat that's the most adorable,
sweetest,
so true cat, and then you can get a cat who just is not having you.
Yeah,
Whereas
you can
dogs,
have a cat that only comes out to eat and you never see it. So, you know.
exactly. A neighbor in my co-op unit here asked me to go in and water spray their Amazon frog while they were traveling, and I was like, why would you have that? I went in there and sprayed it, and it was hiding under the moss. I didn't see it for 2 weeks, and apparently it comes out twice a year. They only see it under that moss. I'm like, why would you want that in a
You know,
terrarium? I don't get it.
It has its moments. It probably was endearing at some point.
Maybe
roped them in, lassoed them in, and then took off. You know.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay, on a plane, would you sleep, read, watch a film or video, or drink to calm your nerves?
Interestingly enough, I enjoy a good drink as much as the next person, but on planes, I tend not to drink alcohol just because I want to have my wits about me in case.
Yeah, are you busy co-piloting?
I'm busy. I'm very much a control freak. Hence my sort of ride from being an actor into more of a filmmaker as well. So chances are I would probably watch some TV series that otherwise I wouldn't bother watching.
Yeah, because if you fell asleep, something could go wrong.
Well, so I just don't.
The pilot might need you.
Yeah, I also don't sleep well on planes either. I think it's more like I would look at it as research. I would pick a TV series I've heard something about and then watch it for research more than entertainment.
Okay. If you could have something back that you tossed, what would that be?
Wow, that is a good experience. Wow. Now I see the difficulty I put my poor guest through on my Q&A session there.
And you can dish it out, you got to take it.
Right, exactly. You know, I mean, gosh, there's so many things in hindsight. Probably.
Okay, you know what? We'll go back. I can go back to that.
No, I do have an answer. Answer. Very random. In Paris, I went to a flea market and I saw the most hideous fish lamp you could ever imagine. It was sort of a tropical red fish with gold leaf or whatever. And inside, it was hollow. Inside was like other little ceramic fish with a little light bulb. And I thought, this is so hideous that I have to have it. So I bought it, transported it back to Dublin where I lived at the time, wrapped it up, whatever. And when I moved to the US, somehow it got lost in the shuffle. And I never got that light to work. So I still feel I have unfinished business about taking it to an electrician and replacing the light and seeing what it looked like on a shelf. Oh. So that is unfinished business. I'll never know what happened to that red ceramic Parisian flea market lamp.
Isn't that funny? When you remember, right?
That's crazy. I haven't thought about that in a while, so thank you for that question.
Okay. What character that you've played is closest to what you would like to be?
Oof. Well, it's a little bit of a trick question because, you know, I've played Dracula many a time.
Really?
I don't really do theater anymore, but I've done 2 separate Dracula productions, 2 separate directors, 2 completely separate pieces, so a 10-year in between. And there's just something about that character that's very appealing because I feel like Dracula is sort of a misunderstood character. You know, he's definitely someone who's known for being a baddie, and he is. He goes out and bites people and, you know, makes them sort of living dead or kills them and sucks up their life energy, whatever. But he's also essentially a character who's very lonely. You know, he's someone who lives forever-ish, as long as he can get access to blood, and he doesn't have that sort of life partner. I always felt that he was a very misunderstood character. So, you know, a complex character, a complex person, like I think we all are, that's a character that I'm attracted to. So just for the brevity of it, I'll say Dracula. Yeah,
well, at least Frankenstein had a bride, right?
Right, exactly. He got some. he got some. Franken got nothing. He got garlic. He got garlic repulsion, right, exactly. Garlic repellent.
If you were having dinner at my house, what would you hope I was going to serve, and what would you want me to not serve?
I would hope that you would ask if I would like gin and tonic to start.
Oh.
But hopefully with Fever Tree tonic, that's not too sweet. It's the only tonic that works. The regular tonics are way too sweet. So a Fever Tree gin and tonic, I'd be like, thank you for that. Thank you so much,
Okay.
Helen. Let's start there. I would love if you then had some fresh crab meat, perhaps ready with some lovely fresh bread. And then we could move on to potentially a homemade bechamel lasagna.
Ooh, what's bechamel lasagna? I make lasagna, but what's bechamel?
Right, so I think that's the big difference between American lasagnas and European lasagnas is the bechamel sauce, because bechamel is replaced in the US with ricotta.
Oh, that's what I use.
And I'm not a big ricotta cheese fan. So bechamel is basically a sort of, it's like a flour, butter, cream cheese sauce that sort of melts between the layers as opposed to sort of the ricotta layers that are a little firmer. So that would be my wish for maybe a main course and a lovely salad. And then I hope you would have made your best apple pie dessert with some ice cream on the side.
Nice. And what would you hate? What would you hate to have?
Oh boy, what would I hate to have? Probably something like, anything that's too fishy for me is not great. Anything that's too fishy for me is not great. And I'm not a big beer drinker. So if you serve me beer, I'd be like, eh. But other than that, I'm fairly adventurous. I'm not sure about the kidneys and the livers and all that stuff, but I'll give the rest of it a shot.
Well, it's been great having you here, Lukas. We're out of time, and I want to wish you all the best with Guest of Honor.
Thank you.
Everybody come and see it. It's on Friday at the 7 o'clock time block, October 2nd. And you can find out more by going to longislandfilm.com.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. And best regards to Lisa. I'm sorry she couldn't make it, but thumbs up for her too.
I will be sure to tell her that as well. And I'm in another little TV pilot called Distemper, directed by Elias Pagiano, so have a look out for that as well. Thank you for having me on. Do
you have a website where we can follow you?
Yeah, so it's www, of course, and then it's Lukas with a K, and Hassel, which is Hassel, lukashassel.com. All the news, all the stuff that I'm doing. I'm also on Instagram. I have a YouTube channel. So go check out some of the videos I put up there. That'd be great.
Thank you, Lukas. Bye now.
Bye.
Bye.